There's a lot of very dedicated people.
I think you just hinted at one of the easiest analogies. Who's at the table?
Like my dad said, log and always be worth more than you're being paid.
We're gonna have 30,000 more people here in the next 10, 12 years.
I am optimistic that we'll continue moving in the right direction.
And that takes finding people that wake up every day and they're thankful and they believe they can change the world.
This BendBeat discussion is brought to you by the Lad Group, Ben's leading real estate team.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here today, Laura Handy, and you're the Executive Director of Heart of Oregon Corps, correct?
Yes.
Well, I got it. Okay, great. You and I got to know each other briefly through the Chamber Board, and I started learning more about your organization. I was like, ooh, I want to focus more on that. It was something that I was unaware of. So what I'd love to do is start with your origin story on Central Oregon, what brought you here, and kind of what got you involved with this amazing organization.
Yeah, well, I found my initial career path working with nonprofits. I always have worked with nonprofits and community organizing, and spent some time at Tacoma and Colorado. And I had kind of intertwined this love of community-based work and then also the outdoors when I moved to Colorado. And my partner and I were really seeking a place that, you know, had all those outdoor things, had a mountain, but also had a real community. Right? That where people weren't all seasonal and the town wasn't completely run by whoever ran the mountain, and had more opportunities of community involvement and work that was being done at that level. So we batted around a couple ideas and said, well, let's try, we hear good things about Bend. Let's try Bend for a season. You know, we'll try to find a job. It's 2006, things are great. There's lots of jobs. All else fails, you know, and even if we do, it'll be fun to work at the mountain if that's where we land, you know? So we moved here, and we both found work that we stayed with for a long time. Initially, he worked for Entrepreneur Climbing Wall, and I found a beginning program manager job for a very small nonprofit that had just gotten its first federal grant, and Heart of Oregon Corps, and you know, didn't have a website, didn't have a building,
so pretty
founded in 2000, but was, you know, had been around for 6 years, but was still pretty small, you know, very partnership based, and didn't have a lot of infrastructure at the time. But I said, well, yeah, I've implemented programs before. I love the outdoors. I've, you know, worked with this population of young people before. I'll give it a try. And lo and behold, that was 18 years ago. So
let's talk about that. So that was a brand new nonprofit. What is the Heart of Oregon Corps today?
Yeah, Heart of Oregon Corps is a locally founded nonprofit that engages youth and young adults, ages 16 to 24, from the local community, to transform their own lives while they help transform their communities. So we engage them in a work, earn, and learn model. Work, earn, and learn model. Yeah, it's a really great way to think about it. So young people work in meaningful, hands-on, team-based environments on projects that make a difference for everybody in the community. They earn living stipends or wages. All of the youth participants, 225 a year, that we hire and train are on our payroll.
And
which
then
is
you
unique,
subcontract out with other organizations?
And then we partner with other organizations to do meaningful work in the community. And they also can earn living AmeriCorps Education Scholarships sometimes. And then they learn. And I'm talking learning both essential workplace skills, you know, soft skills like relating to each other and a supervisor, planning out your day, bringing a lunch, talking about safety, talking about your needs at work, asking for help, all of those skills. They also learn, you know, we do have one of our programs offers a diploma and GED track. And then they also just learn so many hard workplace certifications that they can put on their resumes for their career pathway. So work, earn, learn. The Conservation Corps model goes back a really long ways in our country.
This was the 1930s, right?
Originally the CCC in the 1930s. So we get our roots from that, but this is the 21st century.
And your funding isn't federal like that. This is all local funding, right?
No, we have highly blended funding. So we receive local donations, corporate support, and projects at the local level. You know, we do projects with Bend Parks and Rec, or a local irrigation district, or a homeowners association that might want to do fire fuels reduction.
Okay.
But we also do a lot of county and state work. And then we also implement federal grants and blend and braid them with those local supports as well.
Oh my goodness. So it's like 200, 300, 225, you said, young people per year working with your organization?
The past few years, we've come in right around 225 a year.
Okay.
And then we also have a pretty strong network of staying engaged with our alumni and graduates, which is a really meaningful part of the work as well. Because these are all local youth. They're not youth that are coming from other communities and staying residentially. They live here at home. This is usually where they grew up, though some have just moved here. But they don't move here for us, right? Like they are living here and then become a part of our community solutions.
Yes. Okay. So I'm sure you get a variety of kind of people in different aspects of their life, even in that 8-year window, right? What is your typical person that uses your organization or gets involved with your organization? I mean, is there a typical, is there a caricature of the kind of the standard person that works with you, or is it all over the board?
It is a bit all over the board, but I would say on the asset side, these are young people who are wanting to improve their own lives. And they're wanting to do something that matters. Right? They have this sense of like, I could get a job at, McDonald's or nothing, but like a ABC place, right? But I want to have this experience that matters to me and matters to my community. On the needs-based side, not all, but many of our youth do face some significant barriers to their career pathways.
Okay.
So this may be their family's income level or housing insecurity. It's hard to live in the community where you want to play and Bend these days.
Yes.
It might be they experience a disability, or perhaps they have had a non-traditional pathway through high school. Or maybe some other barriers in their life, of their own mistakes and learning and path, or maybe just that this is the environment they grew up in, or the hardships that their family has faced, and they can potentially really benefit from some intensive supports, a caring environment, something that's crafted specifically for a young person on that kind of journey.
Yeah, the framework and the structure and the support around them, I'm sure, is incredibly important, and a lot of people are without that structure or role model or access to your opportunities, whatnot. Do you have any stories of like a transformation of someone that kind of got involved in your organization where it was transformative, important in their lives, that might help kind of shed light on what the core of what you guys are up to?
Yeah, I have so many, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
But one, and if it's okay, I'd love to link the video in the
deal.
podcast.
Let's do it, yeah.
But Terry Clevenger is a success story that I just love, and Terry and I are still in touch.
Okay.
He called me recently, hoping to use his AmeriCorps scholarship to pursue like music, sound design mixing.
Oh wow.
For music industry. But Terry grew up in Prineville. He had a pretty unstable childhood, spent time living with different relatives and friends, and bounced around a lot, didn't really have that strong stability from his family, right? Family members that he knows and loves, but like that wasn't his rock. And when he first joined Heart of Oregon, he joined kind of our basic stewardship hourly wage crew. And we said, well, Terry, you don't have your diploma yet. You're 16. Like, don't you want to be in school, or maybe do this program where we offered diploma, GED? And he was so quiet, hood up, backpack close to him. No, I'm never going to graduate high school. Okay, but you want to work? Yeah, I want to work. Okay, let's start there, right? Let's start there. And he worked on the stewardship crew. We do work with Deschutes County Solid Waste and the litter and recycling needs that they have. So he did that work for quite a while. Then he kind of looked over shoulder. What is that High Desert Conservation AmeriCorps crew doing? They get to run chainsaws. Maybe. And for Terry, just to say maybe I could do that was like a huge jump for him. Like to say, oh, that's something I'm interested in. That's something interested in. Maybe I could do that. So he ended up doing the High Desert Conservation Corps, which is more of a year-round young adult corps. People are, by this time he's 18, right? 18 plus, and they do intensive fire fuels reduction, chipper, chainsaws, like we're not
hard,
talking
dangerous work.
Kids, just maybe picking up litter one day. We're talking about 40-hour weeks, intensive AmeriCorps service in the community. And then he kind of left the Corps for a while and was doing his own thing. He kind of came back. And at this point, he's a tall young man, looks you in the eye, shakes your hand, sees me in the parking lot. Hey, Laura, how are you?
Yeah.
Just such a big growth. And he said, you know what? I'm too old now to get a diploma, but I can still get my GED, right?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, you can. He's like, am I going to be too old to do Youth Build, which is Heart of Oregon's Youth Build program where you can earn a GED or diploma? And I'm like, no, you'll be a leader.
Yeah.
Right? So he joined that program, had that peer leadership in that program, got his pre-apprenticeship certification in construction, earned his GED. Importantly, was that peer leader to so many younger 16, 17-year-olds in that program who was where he was before, right? At that point, he had now earned almost $4,000 of AmeriCorps scholarships, and just was ready to thrive. So he was working in Central Oregon for a little while. He did move to Tennessee to care for a family member, which is, part of his story that I think is admirable too. And now he's pursuing that music engineering and still in touch with us, you know, calling us up, being like, hey, this is what's going on. So, and the video that we have of him, he's speaking for himself, so I encourage your listeners to check that out.
I would love to check that out. What a critical age. I think at that age, without support and without, guardrails or without, kind of a structure around you, I'm sure it's a tenuous time where their lives could start heading in some pretty tough directions. And it's an interesting time to provide that support but through the premise of and the real work, I think it's pretty interesting. It's something I had no idea.
Brian Ladd here. I appreciate you listening. This BendBeat podcast is proudly produced and brought to you by the Ladd Group at Cascade Hassan Sotheby's International Realty. We at the Ladd Group believe that real estate is more than just homes. It's about our community. We're deeply committed to making Bend a better place, and we dedicate ourselves to serving our home buyers and our home sellers at the absolute highest levels of our industry. You can learn more at bendpropertysource.com, or you can always give us a call. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
I guess we have so many challenges in our community right now, from houselessness to housing prices to mental health issues to, we could go on and on. What perhaps is kind of the biggest issue facing our community in which your organization interacts? I guess, what's the biggest community issue that you face and deal with on a daily basis as far as your organization?
Well, overarching in the center of our mission are the youth.
Yeah.
So number one is that for many young people, the workforce pathways are broken, right?
Okay.
And as older adults, we think, oh, well, you just got to try a little harder. You just got to do this with your resume. You got it. We never got filtered out by AI bots when we applied for jobs.
Yeah.
The young people face different and unique challenges than many of us did. And the youth participation rate in the labor market is at historic lows. It has been going down for decades, and it just keeps going down. So young people are working later and later in their life for shorter and shorter amounts of time before they're really at full-time employment.
Wow. Yeah. I guess I hadn't given thought to that.
Yeah. So if you never have that summer job when you're 16, 17, or 18, and the very first time you work in a formal way is when you're 22, that looks very different, right? I remember learning specific things when I worked at 16 years old in an environment that wasn't high school, wasn't related to my family. But, I was like, what is this multi-generational space with all these expectations? And, so there's that, right? Just that young, and especially youth that are on a workforce path and not a traditional college path.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And that is really important. So that is a major need in our community, and it's the center of Heart of Oregon Corps' mission. But what's so cool about Heart of Oregon Corps, and I'm a little biased, and has kept me in my role and in this community, is that our young people, through the training they do, help solve our region's biggest challenges.
How so?
They do hands-on work. So they are helping solve the crisis of wildfire risk and degradation of our public lands, both habitat and recreational sites, sometimes through fire, sometimes through use, sometimes through other impacts. So we improve, close to 2,000 acres of public lands every year. And we do hundreds of fuels reduction sites our young people do. So they're a part of that very important challenge. And that goes to everything, that smoke, the being able to get your house insured, being able to, like just the safety of especially rural communities. And when their property is at risk of fire, they have to evacuate animals and right. It's just this huge grazing fences get burned down and like just this ripple effect of fire in our communities. So that's a huge one. Housing affordability. We're a licensed construction contractor and we're a BOLI recognized pre-apprenticeship construction program.
Okay.
So we build affordable housing, and our young people and youth build staff have built 40 affordable homes.
Unbelievable.
Since 2009 in partnership with others.
Sure.
So we partner with Habitat for Humanity organizations, Housing Works, First Story has been an amazing partner. We did one house kind of all by ourselves. And then right now we're about to start a duplex with Thistle and Nest. Our youth, in addition, have helped build sleeping units with Veterans Village, Oasis Village. We're talking with a new Mountain View property, sleeping unit structure. So huge impact on houselessness and affordability of housing.
Yeah, and those are very, very real issues.
And then we have a small program as well that is kind of still in like pilot mode, but is operational. We're doing childcare worker training. So working with youth who want to go in the helping professions, youth development and childcare. And so they're earning an industry recognized certification. They're getting work experience with places like Sisters Park and Rec or an aftercare program. And then they're entering the workforce with all those certifications. They can earn up to 15 COCC credits through the programming with us. And then they're ready to join that workforce. So the childcare crisis in our community as well.
Yeah, well.
So those are three big ones, right? So mostly we're addressing those workforce pathways, but through doing it, we're not just doing classroom-based training. We're putting young people to work as problem solvers in their community.
Yeah, I'm imagining all the tentacles involved with all those different organizations, from education to nonprofit partnerships to housing to wildfire, and those are all very, every single one of those subjects that you named right there are very critical issues for our community right now.
Yeah.
I mean, from the most obvious is it's smoky outside today, and wildfire is a very big part of living in Central Oregon now. To, we talked with employers that have trouble with employees because there's not affordable housing. And then there's a lot of people that can't enter the workforce because there's no child care available in our community. On through. I think it's incredible. Are there other nonprofit organizations? I mean, you just named COCC. So are you involved with educational organizations and higher ed and things like that? Yeah.
So we have a partnership with COCC to help make those pathways as smooth as possible for youth, do co-enrollments where it makes sense. We partner for our Heart of Oregon Youth Build program that offers diplomas. We partner with Sister School District and other school districts in order to make those diploma credits possible. And then, of course, at any kind of public lands agency at any level, from municipal park to federal lands, we are there. Or other organizations that work on things like that, like Trout Unlimited, or the Oregon Hunters Association, or Backcountry Horsemen's, right? Like, we're partnering and working with those organizations, because it's also really fun for our youth when they go out and they're like, oh, we're trail building, like, what's this group? It's like, oh, that's Central Oregon Trail Alliance, like they do this as volunteers, and they're like, they do it for free. I'm like, well, yeah, they're in a different part of their life, but like, if you go on in your career, you do something totally unrelated, you could do something like this when you're older, right? Like volunteer to build trails, So it's just this big, and I love it because these young people are from Bend, from Redmond, from La Pine, but many, not all, but many of them really have not had the experiences right in their own backyards on the public lands that then we engage them to help. Or they themselves have experienced housing challenges with their families.
Yeah.
And they get to be involved in helping create a safe, stable housing situation for someone. And they know how important that is because they've lived it, you know? And so it's just really meaningful in a time when, especially after the pandemic and just all the threats that young people see around them,
Yeah.
to be able to do something that is hands-on and matters, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel overwhelmed by all these things,
Yeah.
but I at least can do this
I can
in
do
my
this.
own community.
And so why nonprofits? Why here?
So, I mean, how I landed here, I kind of spoke to,
Yeah.
of just, you know,
Yeah.
the vibrancy of this
Yeah.
community, but it's what made me stay.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it was this combination of the community I found and formed here. There was just so many people
Yeah.
who were open to community, who were doing exciting things, who created things together, whether that's a physical thing or, you know, like a business or an opportunity. You know, vibrant park system, like just so many great schools, great,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's just a great community. But for me personally, my work at Heart of Oregon, our youth crews are everywhere. Like I like to say their boot prints and footprints are literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I was first new to the community, it was so cool because even as a brand new community member, I got out of Bend. Like, oh, where are the crews today? Oh, they're out at Haystack Reservoir. Where's that?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like, oh, they're building a home in Madras. I'm going to go up there. And, oh, have you been to this great taqueria? Oh, let me go. Like,
Yeah.
oh, did you know that Madras has a performing arts center that's really cool and a quad, you know, like the ways in which Heart of Oregon crews are from Crescent to Warm Springs to Prineville to Sisters and then work all around those communities. For
Yeah.
me, it just like deepened and widened my connections
Yeah.
and then all the partners we work with, right? Like
Yeah.
I just so quickly became so involved in the
Yeah.
community. And that's partly why I love nonprofit work too, right? Is
Yeah.
that nonprofits do things by partnership. That's that's our DNA. And when you do things by partnership, you just naturally build community.
So someone who's newer to Bend and
Mm-hmm.
just sees it as this picture perfect, whatever, explain your perception of the role and the collaboration of the nonprofits in our community. Like, you know, like how deep and important are they to our community? And how would you explain that to a newcomer?
I think most people recognize that even in communities that seem glossy on the surface, that folks are going through struggles.
Yeah.
Right? And that could be someone in your family gets cancer, or that could be your family has experienced generational poverty,
Yeah.
right? Or you have a child with a profound disability, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, absolutely.
all communities experience challenges. And the challenges, I mean, Bend, if you go to the historic museum, you can see it. Bend has always been a boom and a bust town.
Yeah, we've had our cycles.
You know, and within that, there's the workforce in Bend and across Central Oregon, and it's diverse. There's all these different experiences, but of folks who truly, you know, have struggles and also have a ton to give and are the backbone of our community as far as our culture and so many things. And so I think nonprofits in Central Oregon really work together.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like we have our things we do well and we lean on each other for the things we can't deliver at all,
Yeah.
you know. The volunteerism in this town is amazing as far as both people who want to volunteer and whether that's on the like passing out food at the food bank level or on the board of directors, which is so important. Every nonprofit has a board that is, you know, people are saying, please serve on our board. I'm like, well, you know, I have baseball. It's like, well, we got to make this run, right? And so I lost my thread there. The way nonprofits work together and what the community needs, they're deep community needs and they're often hidden.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that nonprofits partner with public services and that partnership with the public government services, and whether that's city, county, state, or federal services. The federal and the state government hire nonprofits. They call them grants, but they hire nonprofits to do so much of the public work. But we're able to take those funds and maximize them with other private and public funds and really like make them in community-based ways. And that I think nonprofits in this community are really good at doing, and we're good at collaborating with each other.
Yeah, the matrix of nonprofits that support our community is incredible and inspiring, and a little overwhelming to see the amount of need that that's being served.
And we're an important part of the business. I mean, I think that's one thing that's interesting to think about is nonprofits are businesses.
Yeah,
we have employees.
Yeah.
We pay benefits. We pay tax. We pay employee taxes. We don't pay but any profit we make is just invested back into the company instead of paid out to shareholders, right?
Yeah.
And that's a thriving part of Ben's business community is the nonprofit
several
community,
hundred,
right? Which sometimes isn't seen that way, of course, which I understand, because nonprofits also ask the business community to donate for services, right? But we have a year-round staff of 50 full-time staff. 30 full-time staff, 50 including seasonal staff in the summer.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. And that's on top of the 225 youth that are on our payroll.
So that's almost 300 people a year under payroll through this nonprofit doing community work. So that's incredible. So you were talking about, the nonprofit. Let's talk specifically about yours. For someone who's interested in your organization, how can they best get involved or support your organization?
Well, right now, speaking of community needs and the workforce path, Heart of Oregon for 25, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary this year in 2025. And we are breaking ground on a one-of-its-kind workforce development campus for youth in Central Oregon.
Wonderful.
In September.
And where's that going to be?
It's going to be in Redmond.
Okay.
Kind of right where 97 and Highway 126 comes together, so right at the crossroads. And we are fundraising for our Legacy 25 capital campaign.
Okay.
So most years I might go to some volunteer thing first, but right now there's such an amazing opportunity for people to support this work because we are raising the last $2.2 million of our capital campaign of a $7.3 million goal.
Yeah.
And we have a matching fund available right now where all gifts or pledges, multi-year pledges, $100,000 or below will be doubled.
Oh my goodness.
While the matching fund is still available. And we have about $300,000 more of that match.
Okay.
So we're trying to exhaust that match by our groundbreaking in September.
Okay.
And then we'll be continuing to fundraise through the build.
Yep.
Our goal is to end the project debt-free. It's a big goal still. And so we may be fundraising slightly after, the ribbon gets cut. But we have been in borrowed, in-kind, tiny facilities for 25 years.
And that stability, I'm sure, is critical to growing your vision.
Yeah. So as a part of the project, we were able to buy 3.4 acres in Redmond and 2 existing buildings and a kind of industrial style warehouse and equipment bays, which is critical. We have 20 vehicles and 15 trailers and 2 wood chippers and porta potties and dump truck. Like we have a lot of stuff. We're a conservation corps. We're not just a office-based organization, right? So we're really making a campus. It will have hands-on training space. It'll have a vibrant outdoor courtyard. It'll have classrooms. So many things there. So I could go on forever about the capital campaign, but please, anyone who's interested in this mission, thinks it matters, wants to support the youth that are making all these changes in our community, that is the most important thing that they can do right now. We also are recruiting board members. So business leaders and people with professional skills and talent and passion are encouraged to apply for our board of directors.
Okay.
We also have a mentoring program within our Heart of Oregon Youth Build program.
Yeah.
So that's more like hands-on interface with our young people, tutoring, life coaching, help apply for their next steps when they graduate. It starts out in a group mentoring model and then goes to one-on-one matches.
That sounds really interesting. I think a lot of people who especially are here partially retired or retired, I think that would be an interesting way for them to get involved in a mentor role.
Yep. Yeah, I love our group of mentors. They're so passionate about our youth and their projects. Sometimes they go and do the hands-on service projects with the youth too, roll up their sleeves.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, those 3 opportunities of getting involved in our campus campaign, making a legacy gift to the capital campaign, board service, or mentoring.
I love all 3 of those. And I love that, whether it's time or money or talent, I think there's, you've given plenty of on-roads to get involved in your organization. I think that's real helpful. And I think I had a question here. If you had unlimited resources, what program would you work on first? But I guess at this point, you're focused on the campus itself.
Campus.
I'm sure you've got 1,000 things to grow from there, but
Yeah.
that's your primary role. So,
well, I want to share, we started this with visioning with our youth. We said in 2019 and 2020, we met with our youth and said, if Heart of Oregon had the ideal headquarters or facilities that you could come to, what would it feel like? What would it look like? Where would it be? What could happen at Heart of Oregon in a building like that can't happen now? And we got a ton of feedback from current youth and alumni. And we started there with that vision assessment. And we've had to, the dream has done this, and then the budget did this, and we had to do this a little bit. But that's where it came from. And I think that's important for people to know.
That's incredible. I'm envisioning the empowerment that the youth found in that, and speaking into something that of this scale. And it takes obviously multi-decade leadership to encourage and to support that. And I think it's incredibly important. But is there one particular lesson, and perhaps we've already addressed it, but is there one particular lesson that you've learned from the youth that you're working with that could really serve the rest of us, that maybe we could take to heart and kind of learn from our younger citizens?
That's a great question. And I'm thinking of a lot of different lessons, but I think the thing that sticks with me, especially the young people that do kind of have the pathways of more than one program at Heart of Oregon and then staying in touch as alumni, it's their resiliency and their ability to say, well, I can't fix everything right now, or I can't do all these things, but I can do this. And how that can really help all of us, right? Like we can all get caught up in our there's all these things, but I can't change it. So I'm just not going to, and I'm just going to stick to my little bubble, right? Like I'm just going to stay in my comfort spot because this is big and scary. And I don't feel like I can really make a difference out here. And I think we, more than we like to admit as older adults and older young adult, we get real sucked into our own bubbles. And maybe some of us serve as volunteers, and we are in our church, or, and we have these expanding bubbles, but our young people take amazing risks in trying something new at Heart of Oregon. They join this crew, they go to these places, they learn how to run a chainsaw or a, nail gun, or they build a house. I can't build a house. Yes, you can. They take these amazing risks and choices and put themselves out there. And they all start by doing just this one thing today. Right? And now I'm going to try this, and now I can try this, and it matters, and it makes me feel better because I'm doing something concrete and meaningful, right? Like this is to help myself and my resume and my career. But I'm protecting someone's home from wildfire, or I'm protecting this habitat for these awesome animals I love, or I love to fish and I'm protecting this stream, right? But we can do that too, right? Like we can find this thing today, and then this next thing, and this next thing. And I think as adults, we make a lot of excuses of why we can't do those things. And I see them doing those things, and it encourages me to do the same. Yeah,
as a father of a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 9-year-old, I'm always impressed by how brave young people can be. And, we make presumptions that it's not that bad, but for them to go out in the world and get a toehold out there and to start walking their own path is hard to do, regardless of income level. And especially, I think, when people are faced with other struggles, whether it's family structure, or income, or instability in umpteen different ways. I think for you, what I hear is when you tell this story about creating that pathway for them, and when you describe the physical campus, what I hear is like a safe space in which they can hope or start walking, because I think in the chaos, we take it for granted that everyone can clearly see a path forward. But when you're in the storm, you can't see much. And, to create that kind of launching pad, I think is, what I see is your safe launching pad with structure and kind of, the staircase to somewhere. I just want to give you a heartfelt thank you for what you're doing in our community and for the empowerment that you're providing for our young people, because I think it's a pretty scary time for youth right now. The messaging that we're putting out there is pretty scary. It's pretty negative, and I think, combined with some very real challenges, I think there could be a lot of youth that just don't want to play, don't want to participate. I think it's a very different world than 30, 40 years ago, where quote unquote the American dream or pathway was more linear.
Yeah, and they're figuring out their own pathways, and they need like these positive peer-rich spaces in order to do it. Because part of the solution is them helping each other and figuring it out. It's not just adults helping them, right? It's them co-creating it and figuring it out together. And in a lot of spaces, digital spaces, those connections are more limited. We have another video where we have a quote, and I always have to tell people, I swear this wasn't a scripted line, and it truly was not. But this young person is out in the forest working on a Forest Service project, and he's talking to the videographer, and he's like, well, yeah, I figured this is just such a cool thing to do with my summer. Like, I was playing a lot of video games, and instead of like leveling up in the game, like, why don't I level up in life?
I love it.
And I'm always like, that's such an amazing line, and I swear it wasn't scripted. Like, I'm just like, thank you. Like, and not all young people play video games, but like, it's a very real concept, right? Of like, how do I make these concrete steps in life and build my own assets and toolbox and like make these community connections where I don't feel so isolated, right? And I have these pathways and places and people in my community that I'm connected to now.
I'm a little overwhelmed, and I just want to give you, my authentic gratitude for what you're doing and the fact that you took your time out, because I know you're fighting a lot of battles on a lot of different fronts to take the time to explain this to me, and we'll try to get this messaging out as far and wide as possible. But on behalf of all the community members that are unaware of the work that your nonprofit and other nonprofits do in our community, it may sound pithy, but I just wanted to, express a deep, heartfult gratitude for the fact that you guys have been doing this work for decade after decade, with a lot of people unaware of what was going on.
Well, thank you for helping us spread that awareness.
Yeah.
I want to thank our board and our staff members who work so hard every day to make it all possible with me. I do not make the magic happen alone by any means. And all our community partners as well.
Well, so thank you for all that. And then, I look forward to learning more and getting more involved in your organization offline and, supporting the amazing things that you guys have going on. And we'll post links to everything that you're working on here. But thank you for your time. And is there anything else you want to bring up? I think we got a pretty good synopsis of what the massive scope that you're working on right now.
Help us unlock that match right now.
Okay. You have $300,000 left to match?
Of the match. And 2.2 left to raise. 2.2 million left to raise.
That's a big goal. But
it is.
This community rallies.
And we've already raised over 5, so we can do it.
That's amazing. And, I guess I'm going to put it on there that those whose ears are newer to our community to understand the importance of getting involved. And I think even if selfishly, it's going to make you enjoy our community more for having gotten involved on a personal level, but then I think for the importance to our community. And, it's the reason that you and I are both here, that it's a real community, and with real community comes some real responsibilities of being a participant. So, well, thank you for your time, and I'm just honored by the conversation you had here today. Cheers.
This was presented and created by the Ladd Group at Cascade Hassett Sotheby's International Realty. Whether you're buying, selling, or simply dreaming about your next chapter, we at the Ladd Group are here to guide you. You can visit us anytime at BendPropertySource.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.
Read the line in between. Yellow light, I gotta speed.